Welcome to the Council of Better Business Bureaus podcast, The Bistro, where we will discuss today's hottest consumer trends, predict the future with consumer experts, and learn how elite businesses and entrepreneurs continue to push the envelope in today's marketplace.
Hello and welcome to The Bistro. Thank you for joining us. For the Better Business Bureau, I'm your host, Elaine Espinola. With advances in technology, consumers today have more information than ever to help make buying decisions even easier. And the real estate industry is no different. Virtual tours, online searching, and smart home technology is making the home buying and selling process that much more accessible and exciting. Here to share the latest technology trends in real estate are two guests from the National Association of Realtors, Nobu Hata and Jessica Lautz. Welcome to the Bistro. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, let's start off by addressing the mobile mentality of society today and how that's playing a role in the real estate industry. Nobu, what do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird time now. I mean, we were just talking a few minutes ago about, phones and what they can do now. I mean, in years past, if somebody had a question, somebody had a need, they would pick up a phone. Nowadays, what you have is somebody picking up the phone and Googling that question to get an answer. I mean, I think if we were to talk 5 years ago and say that, hey, you know what, you'd be using emojis in our communications, we would be using an app to call a stranger to come pick us up at our house and drop us off at the airport. Would have thought you were crazy, but these are all things that are happening now because of mobile tech, and it's more than anything in real estate. What it's done is created a buffer between people. Sure. People. And I've seen it in my 20 plus years in this business now, don't fundamentally see the value in talking to another person about these questions that 5 years ago you would have had with a person. And I think that's something in real estate from both the buyer and seller perspective and the agent perspective is something that we've been all grappling with.
Interesting. Yeah. What do you think, Jessica?
I think that absolutely mobile technology is absolutely changing the business, making sure that you can find out all the details about all of the things in your neighborhood before you potentially move there is absolutely happening. I mean, we look at making dinner today and you set the timer by saying, hey, Google, and then you ask how long do I need to cook that for until I can actually eat it and I'm not going to poison myself. So everything is absolutely accessible today. I think the big thing that's happening right now, though, in the market is that inventory is so tight. So when you go and you look at homes and you look in a particular neighborhood, you have to move fast. And absolutely, the internet, mobile technology will help you get there, but you also need an expert to help you do that transaction.
Sure. So there was a recent report just came out called the Real Estate in Digital Age 2017. Jessica, can you share some of the highlights of that report?
Yeah, so this is a great report because we put together a ton of information that we collect from our own members. We collect it from home buyers and sellers who've actually gone through that transaction in the last year. So it's the most up-to-date information that we can gather. And then we break it out by generations too. And there's a lot of talk today saying that all the generations are different. All millennials are different than the baby boomers, than the silent generation. A lot of the data actually tells us that they're just like mom and dad. They're just like their grandparents. They're moving to the suburbs, but they might be searching for their home a little bit differently, but we really can't knock out those older generations too. Yeah, I know Nobu has a lot to add here on this.
Yeah, I mean, as a former agent and a wife being in the business now, I got to tell her that it's like, don't judge people by their appearances or their age right now. I've met savvy boomers who are just as savvy as the millennials we keep talking about, but I've also met 20-year-olds who didn't get jobs because of the things that they said on Facebook.
Sure.
Right. So, you've seen these curmudgeons that are out, 20-year-olds who are using, duct tape held together flip phones. And it's like, OK, that's great. So when it comes to, the real estate process, never judge a book by its cover. And as a consumer, don't be afraid to ask questions. The clarifying questions that need to happen nowadays that Google won't tell you is an actual answer for you.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So make no assumptions. And as far as utilizing advances in technology, it's the millennials and the boomers. It just depends on who's savvy and who's using it. And it could be either. Mm-hmm. Good point.
Yeah, they're both absolutely using it, but I think they could be using it in different ways. So the boomers know exactly what neighborhood they're going to, or the Gen Xers. They know that they want to be in a particular school district, or they want that commute distance to work. So they're looking about houses, and they're looking on these particular websites, and they're searching for particular features. But when we look at the millennials, they're typically searching for information about the process because they've never done it before. Mm-hmm. So they're still both searching, and they're using mobile-friendly devices to do this. They're searching on the internet just for different search terms.
Gotcha. Yeah, thanks. And so let's talk about some of the immersive 3D virtual reality technologies that are being used in the real estate market today. Nobu, can you share some of those?
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of technology use in this business by brokers to reach consumers that might be on the other side of the neighborhood, other side of the country, other side of the world. So when we're talking about video, virtual, immersive tours and drone shots, it's really kind of used to fill in context, right? So videos, friends of mine, Raj and Ann out on the West Coast, those friends of mine use video to compel emotion. Something that still pictures can't do. It's
sure.
Like it makes me want to oh man, I really love that neighborhood. I love that home. And then it's like, okay, great. Now I can walk through the home. The days of me being able to let you virtually walk through a home like you do on Google Maps, for example, is now available inside of home via technology like Matterport and House Lens that agents and brokers across the country are using. They're truly immersive, and they're adding things like contextual points of interest within that tour. So you could be able to say, oh, this is a wolf range and a wolf refrigerator. Here's a hotspot. Click on it while I'm walking through, and I can see everything about that range and dishwasher and refrigerator in real time.
Wow!
And then you have drones out there, and then we're in Virginia right now, and you have homes on big lots, and what drones can be used for really well is to create a sense of scale. Pictures constrained, 3x5 pictures, there's the majesty of a 1.2 acre lot is really fulfilled by drone usage. Be able to go and say, hey, this is what the home looks like on this massive lot. It's all about context and doing things that still pictures cannot do.
Sure. Wow. So now more than ever, people who are in the market looking for a home can really see so much online stuff that, how long ago was people not utilizing these things where they could not see these types of things?
This is just recently.
Yeah.
This was unaffordable a couple of years ago. I know the last time pre-drone, I had friends who were using helicopters to take pictures of homes. And that was a $2,000 or $3,000 gig. But now you pay for pictures for a home, which any realtor will do nowadays. It's Matterport tours and drone usage, maybe a $100 add-on. Yeah. It's an amazing time right now to be in this business and to be a home seller and buyer.
Incredible. Well, from helicopters to today, what are some of the most helpful attractors being used online right now to get buyers offline and into homes?
Yeah. I think Jessica mentioned it, it's contextual information that's out there.
Especially if you're moving a long distance. So if you're a boomer and you're thinking about retirement, even if you're buying a vacation home, you want to be able to actually see where that is, see how far it is off the beach, as opposed to Google Maps, which is going to give you a good idea, but not as good as these types of technologies are really going to give you. They're going to give you that feeling that makes you get on the plane, get in your car, drive the distance, go to that vacation home that hopefully will futurely be a retirement home.
Yeah, it's points of interest now. It's neighborhoods. It's proximity to work and public transportation. It's where's the nearest Whole Foods? Where's the nearest dog park? These are things that aren't necessarily in kind of the traditional real estate marketing context, but is out there that the internet has, and the really good brokers out there are connecting those two dots. Because at the end of the day, what we in the industry want to do is reduce that friction to help you find that home quickly. The right way.
Sure. Sounds good. So we're using some of these technologies to invoke emotion, and we're hoping to get these people basically into the home now. So you've seen what the home looks like. We need to get you in the home so you can see the context of how far it is to these different places, like you said.
Web appeal is a new curb appeal nowadays. So it's something that needs to be factored in with everything you do.
Sure. Well, let's talk about apps. There seems to be no shortage of new home buying and selling and staging apps on the market. What should consumers know about these apps, and how can they best be used?
A lot of the apps that are out there, a lot of it comes down to ease of use. But I'll tell you, as someone who bought a home this last January, I got to tell you, putting myself in the shoes of a buyer and seller was an interesting time for me. There's a lot of sameness. The look and feel might be different, but the sameness is out there. So what I would suggest to anybody is, cross-reference what you're doing at the end of the day with a local broker's app or something like that allows me to see what is actually available. And don't be afraid to go out and see the home at an open house and whatnot. Don't forget that at the end of the day, there are people in this home too. So it's like we're seeing a lot of in this crazy market is people seeing homes for sale on these apps but then they're checking out, and they're going in there and creeping out these sellers and looking in the windows. These are problems that we have day in and day out. Technology doesn't tell you that you shouldn't do that.
Right.
Right. But at the end of the day, some of these apps that are out there allow you to find these homes, to search for homes, but finding that home is going to be the struggle, especially in the competitive market that we're in right now.
And those apps, they really can't replace the expertise that your local realtor on the street is going to have. They're going to be able to tell you about that neighborhood in a way that these apps and the technology won't be able to do. And you can get a feeling about a home, but you really, at the end of the day, you need that expert to help you point out, especially the home inspector, hey, there's a leaking roof here, there's foundation issues, and you won't be able to see past those things.
Sure. That kind of leads me to the next question, which is, you've got these apps which are helpful, and kind of like what you said, what are some things that home buyers should be aware of when you are online and you're looking at all of these videos and you're using the apps? What should they be aware of?
Boy. Reality versus kind of the mythology that marketing is putting out there, that these apps are putting out there. There's a huge disconnect now, and right now the sense of urgency that people have both on the buyer sell side and the marketing side as agents is creating an atmosphere where, boy, things are moving so quickly that just reality does not match what people are seeing online, because it's crazy. While technology moves quickly, the market is moving much more so. Mm-hmm. Right. So I could sell a home to Jessica today and it can go pending, which is a word that most people don't use every day. It's going to show up as pending and off market, but it's going to be showing up for sale in a lot of the other apps that are out there. Sure. Right. So it's this whole idea about, okay, what's really out there? It's great. There's a lot of information, but there's not enough knowledge that's floating around out there. And that's where the person comes into play, the true market expert. So this, breaking down these barriers of the technology builds up to be able to say, hey, help me with my problem when it comes to this home buy sell process is the thing that realtors are doing nowadays.
Excellent. Thank you. And so those in the market today, they're able to do the majority of their home buying research themselves, like we're talking about. For example, all of those things, information on the neighborhood, the schools, the community amenities, even the home itself, like we said, and, when it was last sold, for how much, how long it was on the market, etc. How does a realtor continue to add value to the home buying search? Kind of similar to what you were just talking about.
Search is easy, and I'll say that. The fact that you can find your own a home that you want to buy is easy. Finding the right home isn't. There's no smell-o-vision online,
Sure.
Right? Not yet, anyways, right? And until that reality comes to fruition, at the end of the day, you're going to need that help finding the right home, whether it's across the city or in another part of the country. A great realtor, a great person has a network of other agents that are out there. And in a competitive market right now, you talk to an agent who talks to 20, 30 other agents in a given day, knows your needs, can find that home for you sometimes before it even hits the market, right? Because agents are prepping homes for weeks, if not months, before they actually hit the market, even in downtimes like this. And then during the transaction, I got to say, the majority of the work in the transaction is dealing with the emotion that comes with a home buy or sale. And a lot of consumers are unprepared for that.
That's a great point. It's a very emotional purchase as well as a large financial one.
And you don't realize it until you're in it. You're in a home that you've had in your life for the past 30 years. You've raised kids there, and you're quibbling with a buyer over $1,000. A good realtor will help you say, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, $1,000 is not a big deal. I know you raised your kids here, but let's help you move on to the next phase of your process. After the transaction is, again, where a lot of these agents can help. Right now, what we have a lot of with the lack of inventory are homes that need just a little bit of work.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And a good agent will be able to help you with their network of contractors, plumbers, electricians, that post-transaction you can make the vision of your perfect home a reality, even if you buy something that needs a little bit of work.
I think that's true on both the buying and the selling side, too. Tempering those expectations that you're not going into a home that's staged like you're going to see on HGTV. That's not reality. And And making sure that you can actually talk to your home buyer and make sure that they can, again, link you up with those contractors, just like Nobu said. But then on the selling side too, encouraging them to really do a little bit of curb appeal, because you're going to get your return on your value there. And so knowing where you will get your return on your value as well, as opposed to putting all the money in and not necessarily walking away with that. And so I think that's both things. But then I think especially on the seller side, because home prices are rapidly rising in many communities, making sure that you have that expert who can actually price that home competitively as opposed to too low or too high, which you can find a lot of that on the internet right now because it's not necessarily at the right pricing. And just being able on the buyer side to help with those negotiations as well.
Sure. So, of course, a lot of value there with the realtors, so we can never forget that. So, we're talking about increased technology used to sell a home, but let's talk about some increased technology in a home. For example, smart homes. What are they and how are they being received in the market?
Yeah, when it comes to smart homes, it's pretty cool. It's kind of along with the advent of technology and the affordability of the technology, you're seeing random things connected to the internet, which makes them smart, right? So most people nowadays have a Nest camera. Basically, if you can buy it at an Apple store or on Amazon, yesterday was Prime Day, which was nuts. You can buy things that are connected to the internet to help kind of ease friction with a purchase. You can manage. I'm managing the AC of my house in an app on my phone, right? These are things that you can do nowadays. What it does is add saleability, but you got to understand that with technology comes a lot of craziness and creepiness with it too. My Nest thermostat is programmed for me.
Yeah.
So, it's a $175 creepy little thing that knows when I like my AC, my temperature in the summer, my temperature in the wintertime. And as more things get connected to the internet, those kind of separating the personalization of a home is going to become a thing. We're really early, and I think it's going to become a very, very interesting next couple of years as Google, Apple now, and Amazon all fight for the operating system of a home. Now, in 5 years, you're going to, right now you can buy a refrigerator that can tell you that you don't have any yogurt. What's going to be really, really cool is that in probably within the next couple of years, the refrigerator will be able to tell you have no yogurt, and with one button you can buy the yogurt, and the yogurt will be at your front doorstep in an hour.
Yeah. Until
that has become the streamlined thing where everybody has got it, it's going to be kind of a novelty, kind of a gimmick.
Sure.
But it's kind of a cool thing to have nowadays, and will become cheaper as we go, especially when you can buy it with like your cable. Right.
Yeah.
And then, but right now, I think the big thing that folks need to understand, if you're a buyer or a seller right now, is as a buyer, assume you're being monitored when you walk into that home at an open house, at a showing. I can buy a Nest camera that allows me to monitor who's in my home and then turn on the audio and listen to what you're saying.
Oh yeah.
Right? And as a seller, disclose it.
Interesting.
It's like, hey, I have a really hyphen angle security system that I bought with my Comcast cable, and it allows me to do anything and monitor everybody while I'm doing it. Tell your agent this stuff, because what's definitely happening with technology, it is far surpassing any kind of regulation that's out there right now, especially when it comes to privacy.
Yes.
That's the kind of the very first thing we should be talking about right now when it comes to smart home, the smart tech.
Interesting.
I find that really interesting. I think on the buyer side too, if you do have this technology in a home, it can be very attractive to all the generations out there. For millennials, absolutely, they're used to this technology. They want the technology. They use it in their office every day. But also for buyers who may want to age in place, if they're thinking about a home that they're going to live in for the next 15 to 20 years, these technologies can absolutely make life easier for them. They can turn the lights on when they want to in the evening. They can have security when they came home at night. So all of those types of technologies can absolutely be a selling point to a potential seller out there to market to potential buyers. But we have to remember affordability too. It's such a big issue right now that some people may not be able to afford those upgrades on a home, but then also attracting the buyers into the home to pay that higher price.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. I feel like we can continue to talk about all of these different technology trends in real estate. As we kind of wrap up, I'm wondering if you both can kind of share with me what are your top 3 tips for consumers in the real estate market on how they can make the home buying and selling process easier utilizing the latest trends in technology.
Yeah, for me, and this is something that I'm seeing across the country, and it's been covered in the news a lot right now, is that there's this over-reliance on technology and the trustworthiness that technology provides. We trust email as all generations, right? And what you're seeing a lot of is cybercrime and wire fraud happening over there. Your email could have been hacked 6 months ago when you pressed that, what kind of puppy am I Facebook poll.
Sure.
Right. And what happens is some dude in Eastern Europe probably waits for a PDF of your contract to pop into your email where they can be read, and that guy or gal scrapes a logo off of your title company and sends you wiring instructions to send your earnest money, your down payment, your whole dollar amount to buy a home or sell a home to some bank account that gets drained in a matter of hours. Technology is fantastic. It's allowed folks to do a lot of really cool things, but during that transaction, don't be afraid to scrutinize what you're reading and what you're seeing, and call somebody to make sure that it's good to go, that it's a legit email. That to me is, I think, the biggest thing that folks should take away with, no matter how old or young they are.
Great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Pick up the phone. That's great advice. I think right now with today's market, we have to know that these technologies at our fingertips, we can absolutely have instant Amazon and a product will show up at your doorstep in 2 hours. If you're out of eggs, that happens. But I think we have to know that we need patience during this home buying process right now because inventory is so tight, and trust your realtor. They'll be able to find you that right house just for you. So just have patience during that process.
Okay. Well, Jessica and Nobu, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today on the Bistro. How can people find more information about the National Association of Realtors?
NAR.realtor. Check us out.
or talk to your realtor in your neighborhood.
There you go. Okay. Well, the Better Business Bureau is deeply committed to building and advancing a better marketplace, a trusted marketplace for all, because trust always matters. For the Better Business Bureau, and as your host of the Bistro, I'm Elaine Espinola, and I thank you for listening, and I encourage you to give us your feedback on this episode. Until next time, it's been my pleasure discussing better business with you.
You just enjoyed the Bistro podcast. Be sure to tune in next month for a brand new episode. To learn more about our other shows, visit betterbusiness.blueberry.com. That's betterbusiness.blueberry.com, and subscribe. The thoughts and opinions expressed on this podcast are the views and opinions of the guests, not those of the Better Business Bureau, Council of Better Business Bureaus, or program affiliates. This podcast is for information and educational purposes only and is copyrighted with all rights reserved. This podcast is protected by Blueberry's Terms of Service.